Cliff Hobbs had always been a walker. Ever since retiring from the post office at 62, he took long strolls through the neighborhood every morning, rain or shine. He liked the way his joints loosened with each step, how the crisp air cleared his mind. But around his 67th birthday, something changed. He noticed a wobble in his stride, a hesitancy when he stepped off curbs. He told himself it was nothing, maybe a bad pair of shoes, maybe just getting older. But when he stumbled one afternoon in the park and barely caught himself on a bench, he knew it wasn't just in his head. His doctor ran some blood tests and asked him a strange question. "Have you been getting enough vitamin D?" Cliff blinked. "I get plenty of sun. I'm outside every day." "That helps, but as we get older, we don't process sunlight the same way. By 60, your skin produces less vitamin D, even if you're in the sun, and your diet probably isn't enough to make up for it." Cliff shrugged. "So what?" The doctor leaned in. "So a deficiency in vitamin D weakens your bones and muscles. It affects your balance, and in older adults, low levels are directly linked to falls." Cliff listened, surprised. He'd always thought of vitamins as optional, a kind of bonus, not a necessity. But the doctor explained it clearly. Without enough vitamin D, calcium can't do its job. Muscles weaken, bones become brittle, and suddenly something as simple as standing up from a chair becomes a challenge. That night, Cliff sat at the kitchen table and thought about the future. He'd watched his father lose his independence after a bad fall at 75. He remembered the way his dad, once a proud, broad-shouldered man, shuffled with a cane and moved from room to room like the floor might betray him. Cliff didn't want that fate. He bought a bottle of vitamin D3 the next day. Not the generic low-dose kind, but the right amount for his age, 2,000 IU, based on what his doctor recommended. He took it with breakfast and added more D-rich foods to his meals: salmon, fortified cereal, even egg yolks, which he'd once avoided. He also asked the pharmacist about getting his levels tested again in a few months. The first couple of weeks, he didn't notice much. But by the second month, the change crept in like a sunrise. His legs felt steadier. The slight ache in his hips eased. Getting out of bed no longer came with that wincing jolt he'd grown used to. His steps lengthened again, and the curb outside the coffee shop no longer felt like a ledge. He told his wife, May, who had always been skeptical of supplements. "I don't know if it's just in my head," he admitted. "Then you've got a very strong head," she smiled. As winter rolled in and the days grew shorter, Cliff kept up the habit. His walks continued, even under cloudy skies, and he made sure to take his little softgel capsule with oatmeal each morning. By spring, he wasn't just walking, he was hiking. A mile turned into 3. He even joined a local walking group of other retirees, some of whom were struggling the same way he had just a year earlier. He told them what he'd learned, not as a doctor or expert, but as someone who had felt the shift himself. "You think you're just getting old," he told a new friend, Sam, one Saturday morning. "But sometimes it's just one missing piece, one small thing your body's not getting." Sam looked doubtful. "You think a vitamin pill fixed your legs?" "I think it helped my muscles hold me up," Cliff replied. "And I think I'd be moving a lot slower without it." The science backed him up too. Articles started showing up in his news feed about seniors over 60 being widely deficient in vitamin D, especially those in colder climates. It wasn't just about avoiding falls. It was about keeping the strength to live independently, to garden, to dance, to travel. Things Cliff still wanted to do. He got his levels tested again at his next physical. The numbers had improved, and his doctor gave him a nod of approval. "You caught it early," the doctor said. "A lot of people don't." Cliff thought about that on the way home. How many others his age were waking up stiff, blaming their joints or their shoes or the weather, when it might just be something missing from their blood? He started bringing it up casually, with neighbors, at church, even at the library where he volunteered on Tuesdays. "I'm not a salesman," he'd say, chuckling, "but you should ask your doctor about your D levels, especially if your knees ache or you've been feeling off balance." By the time Cliff turned 70, he felt stronger than he had at 65. Not invincible, but stable, grounded, capable of walking into each day without fear that his legs would falter beneath him. And when his grandson asked if he could still race him down the driveway, Cliff grinned and said, Only if you give me a 2-second head start." They both laughed and took off. Cliff didn't win, but he didn't fall either. Later that evening, Cliff sat on the porch with May and watched the sunset paint the sky in streaks of orange. He thought about all the people his age who were losing strength quietly, one day at a time, never realizing that something as simple as a small pill, or a glass of milk, or a piece of grilled salmon might change the course of their aging. He wasn't young anymore, but he was walking strong, and thanks to a single vitamin, he intended to keep it that way.